This video is definitely sponsored by a subscriber of mine who has a product called Adrenal Relief. As I mentioned in another video a little while back, there's still a 25% off code on Amazon that he made revalid again for this month, and that is REALIST1. Again, the product is Adrenal Relief. Increase happiness. Ashwagandha can ease stress and anxiety by 44%. Sleep. Magnesium is well known for its ability to relieve insomnia and relax muscles. Boost energy. Vitamin B complex can do this naturally without the use of caffeine. No gluten or soy. We strive to be as healthy and as natural as possible. Currently has a 5-star rating on Amazon with 29 reviews and climbing. So if you want to support Adjacent 4 subscriber and his great product, which he had custom made, by the way, with the ingredients to his liking, again, that is Adrenal Relief, and I will provide a link in the description box with the discount code should you want to purchase them. So, got a little article from Martin Armstrong, the man, the legend. Very short, but you don't know this, but I just did about 7 minutes worth of a video. I was talking, I was like, you know what, let me pause this while I find it, and I looked over. There ain't nothing to pause. I must have misclicked the start recording button. Thank goodness it's only 7 minutes of my life wasted, not 3 videos worth where I accidentally muted this freaking thing or something like that. So I do have the article up, but as far as the one I want to read, which is actually the Economist 1988 cover, the specific story, not just the cover, the story that was in the magazine, which I've already done once already. But I think it's kind of relevant a little bit on this, where I'm going with this. So I want to start by reading a very short, recent Martin Armstrong article, keeping in mind his economic confidence model and that sort of thing. That's his private thing he created. The club ended up having him arrested because they wanted it. They wanted to use it. He wouldn't let them. He wouldn't tell them how it worked. He wouldn't give them the data. They threw him in jail. He had to do a plea bargain, came out, etc. Kind of a weird story. None other than James Comey helped lock him up back when he was a district attorney or something in New York. So, interesting story on that side from him if you ever listen to that part of it. But anyways, August 15th, 2017, Martin Armstrong, his website, armstrongeconomics.com. One of the main things, and this is the big thing pushing a lot of what he talks about in his models, is sovereign debt crisis. That's what the world is facing. That's the problem. And again, I'm saying here we are in 2017, almost into 2018 here shortly. The same year the Economist magazine said, get ready for a new world currency in 2018. Sovereign debt crisis, huh? That might push us into a world currency where they can wipe out everything and push us into this thing, right? So it's kind of relevant. I'm going to cover it at the end of this, but this is his article. Government and revolution, is it inevitable? I have been warning that as governments move closer to this major event of a sovereign debt crisis, which begins next year, 2018, with the start of the monetary crisis cycle, again, according to his stuff, and he's got very accurate charts and data, by the way. The start of the monetary crisis cycle, they historically will always, and without exception, bite the hand that has fed them. The object for government is survival of the fittest, and that is them. This is never really about helping people as they raise retirement ages, punish the youth with school loans they cannot discharge, and exempt themselves from most laws that apply to us. This is also never about how to properly run the economy for the benefit of all. It always boils down to it being them against us. Throughout history, there has never been even one benevolent government that has ever surrendered power willingly or for the good of the country or the people. That has never happened even once. Power has always had to have been ripped from their grasp, either by people, an internal coup, or some foreign invader. Yes, not every revolution has to be blood flowing down the streets. It will depend upon the military. In the case of Russia, the military did the honorable thing and stood down. That is indeed an extremely rare event. From the Byzantium and the Nika revolt to Tiananmen Square massacre, the military has often first just slaughtered the people, following orders. We're just following orders. The Germans, those soldiers killing the Jews, said the exact same thing. They were just following orders. That has certainly not been the case, even recently, as in Venezuela, where this soldier is killing his own people while standing behind a barricade that reads, "If the order is against the people, your honor is to disobey." The soldier doesn't read signs created by the people, the sheeple people. He only obeys orders and commands from the government. More often than not, the revolutions throughout history come about when the taxes of government simply break the back of the economy. We are reaching one of those moments as we cross the threshold into 2018. So what's he talking about? This monetary crisis cycle that's about to begin next year, which ties into a sovereign debt crisis. And next year being 2018, how could I resist? Let me just pull this up real quick for you to get a gander at this front page cover from 1988. Get ready for a world currency. 2018. Gold medallion against on the Phoenix's neck. Burning dollars, paper dollars, in other words. Maybe a sovereign debt crisis, right? Maybe something of that nature. Money being, up in flames because it's pretty much going to go up in smoke, so to speak. The rise of the Phoenix world currency from the ashes of national fiat currencies, i.e. destruction of fiat currencies via hyperinflation. Phoenix is, of course, an occult metaphor. Out of the destruction, the ashes of the old world order, the Luciferian new world order, will rise like a phoenix. That is not, by the way, that comment is not part of the magazine. This is the person who wrote this. So speaking of that, this, out of the destruction comes this new thing. The destruction is going to come with this world sovereign debt crisis. The old system has to go away. And again, I'll say it, I'll admit it. All of a sudden, cryptocurrencies are taking off out of control. This new cryptocurrency thing comes out just in time over the last few years as we enter 2018. Will they play a role in this new thing to come? Answer, certainly possible. They very may well, excuse me. But that shouldn't stop you right now. If it's going to be used as that, let's just say absolutely certain. I read this thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a sentence I missed. Holy crap, there's a digital currency coming up. All right, I'm convinced all of a sudden that cryptos are absolutely going to be this new world order thing. If it's happening anyways, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. Protest, call your representative, fax your representative. I wish you all the luck in the world. I really do. Not going to happen. So regardless, if you can make a substantial gain monetarily while this crap is about to go down and you're jumping into cryptos, what in the hell is stopping you? Why would you not want to do this? Because if what we think might be coming due to this sovereign debt crisis, a little bit of financial pain being felt everywhere, don't you want to feel a lot less of that if possible? Maybe none of it? You know what I mean? So it says cover, get ready for a world currency. Title of article, get ready for the Phoenix. Source, Economist Magazine, 1988, January 9th. Volume 306, pages 9 through 10. 30 years from now, of course that would be 2018, Americans, Japanese, Europeans, and people in many other rich countries and some relatively poor ones will probably be paying for their shopping with the same currency. Prices will be quoted not in dollars, yen, or D-marks, but in, let's say, the Phoenix. The Phoenix will be favored by companies and shoppers because it will be more convenient. Convenient, huh? Than today's national currencies, which by then will seem a quaint cause of much disruption to economic life in the last 20th century. Now, my question again, I've already read this before. What would be more convenient if you had a dollar, known as the Phoenix currency, paper dollar, or you had a dollar, in our case in America, called the US dollar? There's nothing, in either case, one more convenient over the other. Unless, in fact, we start talking about cryptocurrencies. Oh, it's on your phone and cell phone, this and that. However, back in 1988, even the Economist magazine people didn't know people would have a cell phone in every house, in every corner, even poor people in the middle of nowhere able to have cell phones and coverage. Like, they did not know this in 1987 or 88. So when they say more convenient, maybe back then in those days they were thinking the old credit cards. We'll have the chips in these credit cards. It'll be more convenient because you can just swipe your card. But the card, instead of attached to your US dollar bank account, will be attached to your US regional whatever Phoenix currency. Maybe that's what they meant. I don't know. At the beginning of 1988, this appears an outlandish prediction. They are saying this is a prediction, not a what if. This is going to happen. And who's the Economist magazine run by? One of the families that controls it? The Rothschilds. Just an FYI. At the beginning of 1988, this appears an outlandish prediction. And they're right. And which countries did they mention? Americans, Japanese, Europeans. All of our central banks, all of our debt is out of control. Japanese, European, Europe, Brexit, everything else, Euro. My goodness. Proposals for eventual monetary union proliferated 5 and 10 years ago, but they hardly envisaged the setbacks of 1987. The governments of the big economies tried to move an inch or two towards a more managed system of exchange rates, a logical preliminary, it might seem, to radical monetary reform. For lack of cooperation in their underlying economic policies, they bungled it horribly and provoked the rise in interest rates that brought on the stock market crash of October. He's talking about October 1987, of course. These events have chastened exchange rate reformers. The market crash taught them that the pretense of policy cooperation can be worse than nothing, and that until real cooperation is feasible, i.e., until governments surrender some economic sovereignty, further attempts to peg currencies will flounder. The new world economy. The biggest change in the world economy since the early 1970s is that flows of money have replaced trade in goods as the force that drives exchange rates. As a result of the relentless integration of the world's financial markets, differences in national economic policies can disturb interest rates or expectations of future interest rates only slightly, yet still call forth huge transfers of financial assets from one country to another. These transfers swamp the flow of trade revenues in their effect on the demand and supply for different currencies, and hence in their effect on exchange rates. As telecommunications technology continues to advance, these transactions will be cheaper and faster still. With uncoordinated economic policies, currencies can get only more volatile. In all these ways, national economic boundaries are slowly dissolving. As the trend continues, the appeal of a currency union across at least the main industrial countries will seem irresistible to everybody except foreign exchange traders and governments. In the Phoenix zone, economic adjustment to shifts in relative prices would happen smoothly and automatically, rather as it does today between different regions with large economies. The absence of all currency risk would spur trade, investment, and employment. The Phoenix zone would impose tight constraints on national governments. There would be no such thing, for instance, as a national monetary policy. The world Phoenix supply would be fixed by a new central bank, descended perhaps from the IMF. The world inflation rate, and hence within narrow margins each national inflation rate, would be in its charge. Each country could use taxes and public spending to offset temporary falls in demand, but it would have to borrow rather than print money to finance its budget deficit. With no recourse to the inflation tax, governments and their creditors would be forced to judge their borrowing and lending plans more carefully than they do today. This means a big loss of economic sovereignty, but the trends that make the Phoenix so appealing are taking that sovereignty away in any case. Even in a world of more or less floating exchange rates, individual governments have seen their policy independence checked by an unfriendly outside world. As the next century approaches, the natural forces that are pushing the world towards economic integration will offer governments a broad choice. They can go with the flow, or they can build barricades. Preparing the way for the Phoenix will mean fewer pretended agreements on policy and more real ones. It will mean allowing and then actively promoting the private sector use of an international money alongside existing national monies, right? So they're saying a world currency plus your own local currency. That would let the people vote with their wallets for the eventual move to a full currency union at some point, right? That's what he says. The Phoenix would probably start as a cocktail of national currencies, just as the special drawing rights, or the SDR, is today. In time, though, its value against national currencies would cease to matter because people would choose it for its convenience and the stability of its purchasing power. The alternative to preserve policy-making autonomy would involve a new proliferation of truly draconian controls on trade and capital flows. What's this thing we just heard the other day with Trump and China, trade war starting and all that, right? This is what they're talking about. And they're going to say, see, we told you so. Trade wars, currency wars, see, we should have just used the single currency a long time ago. Now look at what you guys have done. This course offers governments a splendid time. They could manage exchange rate movements, deploy monetary and fiscal policy without inhibition, and tackle the resulting bursts of inflation with prices and income policies. It is a growth-crippling prospect. Pencil in the Phoenix for around 2018 and welcome it when it comes. You got to be kidding me that this was just coincidental. No, wait a minute. This isn't my friends, this is not a coincidence. Paragraph 2. At the beginning of 1988, this appears an outlandish prediction. No coincidence, my friend. It's all planned. It always has been. Take care.